What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Pats Chat Podcast. I'm Doug Kyed, joined as always with Michael Hurley. Michael, this is my vacation period that we're on now. How are you
No,
doing?
I'm good. This is the zone we've long dreaded and talked about. This June to late July stretch that content will be hard to come by. So I'll start with a question for you, Doug.
Yeah,
What would the Patriots equivalent be of the Rafael Devers trade? I don't think they have one, but go ahead.
that's a really good question. Um,
They have one star, and
I
it's
mean, like, I don't know if it would be trading Drake May. That seems a little like I guess the equivalent, the closest equivalent would be like trading Christian Barmore or something, right? You give him the massive contract a couple of years ago, then you trade him for like a fifth round pick. That's
I
that's basically the equivalent that the Red Sox got for
yeah.
Rafael Devers.
There's sadly no equivalent
No,
because the highest paid player is Mike Onwenu, and I don't quite think that would have the same impact if they were to trade their right guard. So it was almost worth doing a Pats Chat podcast about. That's how big of a deal it was. So I don't think they matched that level.
no, and I'm sure we'll get into it later on the podcast. I know people don't love it when we start off with Sox talk instead
We're
of
the
Pats
baseball
chat.
boys.
But we are the baseball boys. We all know that. We'll get into that in a little bit. I watched a practice since the time that we last podcasted because
Yes,
you went to Chicago to watch a bunch of baseball games.
and a sausage
Um,
race.
and we won't get like too deep into a practice that happened almost a week ago, but I think it is worth recapping the entire spring workout program, spring practices. What did we learn? What did we glean? And I have a question for you because usually we've played like big deal, no big deal on these
Yeah.
things. Drake May didn't finish that strong. He didn't have his best practice on Tuesday at Patriots minicamp. Um, is that a big deal or is that not a big deal? Because there
Well,
was an upward trajectory and then things kind of hit a little bit of a wall.
I have a saying that I just came up with. I just invented it. You ready for this?
Yes.
Progress is not linear. Okay.
Okay, Gerard Mayo.
So there are ups and there are downs. He's a 1986 guy. So, yeah, of course he believes in such a philosophy. You wanted to see progress. You saw it. That
Yep.
doesn't mean he's aced it and figured it out. Like you want him to develop and learn the offense, and that's going to have some ups and downs and some better days and some worse days. So I think that's what to be expected. The whole evaluation of his spring got sort of thrown in the blender when he threw 4 picks that day.
That is,
So
yeah.
short of that, like
Anything's better than that, right?
if he kept doing that, then we'd be sounding alarms. We'd be going crazy. So when you say it wasn't that strong of a finish, you're saying inconsistent, probably a pick or two.
Threw an interception to Christian Gonzalez. He overthrew Kyle Williams on the pass. Christian Gonzalez plucked
Oh,
it with one hand.
saw that one.
So yeah, the Patriots even tweeted out, which like it's one of those things where it's like, do you tweet it out? Do you not tweet it out? Our best defensive player made a great play. Our best offensive player didn't make a great throw. Uh, they tweeted it out.
A new phrase just popped into my mind that I just came up with. Iron sharpens iron.
Oh,
Think
okay.
about that one. But no, big deal because he's the quarterback and he's the most important player on the team. But I think it's to be expected. Unfortunately, we don't get to understand any of that growth and development until what, July 29th when they actually practice. I don't have. We
Right.
don't need,
Well,
we don't need
they
to do the schedule right now. You know what I mean?
no, I know they practice for the first time on July 23rd, which is earlier than usual.
Yeah.
This is an early beginning to training camp because I booked vacation from July 15th through the 21st, and I think I'm getting home like the morning of the 22nd. At which point I'm gonna just have to like go to Gillette for Mike Vrabel to talk.
Where are we
Uh,
going? Brussels.
I'm what was that?
Brussels.
I'm not going to Brussels. I'm going to Seattle and the city of Los Angeles.
Nice. I have one recommendation for you. Put
Yep.
sunscreen on your face because we know you at football is bad news bears. So that's
I
my
I mean
fifth.
when the sun is out, I put sunscreen on my face.
Yeah.
When the sun's not out, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I don't need this. Turns out I do.
Yeah.
I will from now on. That's
When the
good
sun is
advice.
blazing and the summer gets hot, Doug Kyed needs to put sunscreen on his stupid face.
I will put sunscreen on my stupid
Respectfully.
face. Yes.
Anyways, yeah. Okay, so sometime in late July. So you got a
Yeah.
month plus of him. I would think. Tell me this.
He's getting married.
That's great. That will probably be used against him on talk radio somehow. But you know Drake May. Well, you don't really know Drake May, but you know him better than I do.
Mm.
We strike you as someone who's going to spend this month, working. Because to me, not knowing him, you guys are best friends. Not knowing him as well as you, I would say, yeah, probably.
I would assume that, yes, he's going to spend this offseason working, getting better, diving more and more into that playbook, being a good, you know, team player and trying to figure out this offense. So no, I think he'll look better. And like you were implying, like when the pads come on a week into training camp, we'll see what this all looks like. And I think it'll look pretty good. And I think he'll be improved. But yeah, no, I mean, also caveat on the last practice, it was indoors. There's really only so much that you can glean from an indoor practice because, like, yeah, it's designed for them to be able to practice football in, but not to the same degree that being outdoors can.
Sure.
I don't know if they're ever going to build a bigger practice bubble or a
Mm.
better practice bubble. Probably not anytime soon. But I would even say that, like, the roof on that thing is it's high, but it's maybe not high enough for every throw, every kick, everything. You know,
It's like, you ever hoop around? You ever do some recreational hoops?
sometimes I used to, yeah.
Yeah, me too. And you'd play in some gyms where like half the court has just a really low ceiling.
Right.
And if you were shooting that way, like you're probably not hitting any. You better drive to the basket. So
Yeah.
I'm sure even if there is room, it is a different sort of mental rep when
Right.
you're veering back to throw.
Yeah. So Christian Gonzalez definitely had a strong spring. I think that's a good sign because he hasn't always been the best practicing cornerback. Like he's usually been better in games than he has at practice. I think we've gone 2 straight off seasons being like, whoa, 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 what's going on with Christian Gonzalez? Or 2 straight off season summers, whatever. Christian Gonzalez, very good this spring. So I think that's, I don't know how big of a deal it is because he was already one of the best cornerbacks in football last year, but it's possible that we see another step taken from Christian Gonzalez this year.
Did you do like 3 stars of spring program?
I haven't yet, no.
Would he make your 3 stars?
He would make my 3 stars. I think
Right.
that it would be him. I guess Drake May would be on there, even though he threw 4 picks,
Not
5
me.
picks.
I wasn't there, but he didn't make my list.
Efton Chisum probably does, but even
Wow.
he slowed down for those last 2 practices.
Wow.
I would say that, like, overall, you usually come away with more, like, obvious stars out of these spring practices. I feel like maybe we didn't glean as much as we usually do. And I know that's not great podcasting.
You're there looking to glean. You can't invent a glean, though. You can't
Right.
lie to the people. So we're an honest podcast.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think the wide receivers as a whole had a pretty good spring, especially, let's say, like, Kendrick Bourne, Keyshawn Boutte, Efton Chisum, DeMario
Well, how about
Douglas.
this?
Kyle
There's an
Lawrence
app-
was decent.
There's something I've heard nothing about
Yeah.
from anyone, anyone else. Pulk and Baker don't seem to have done much.
Yeah, well, Jalen Polk at least has the excuse of being limited. He had a shoulder procedure after last season, and he has been wearing like a yellow penny during team drills. Don't touch him. It's usually just during walkthroughs. During actual team drills, he's off to the side working with Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot that you can glean off of Jalen Polk. Javon Baker's been pretty invisible. I can remember like 1 or 2 decent catches, but like he's currently a guy who's working with like the backups.
All right. So
when they split the field and it's like first and second stringers on one side, then practice squatters and third stringers, he's usually with the third stringers.
I just marked it down. Baker not making the 53 when we do the 53 later.
It's looking that way right now. I mean, like it's certainly possible that something changes, but like I would say that overall, Javon Baker has not impressed since like late July last year. You know what I mean?
Not good.
Like he was good before the pads came on, disappeared a little bit over the summer, caught 1 pass last season.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, not the strongest summer for Javon Baker, and it's not like he's got a guaranteed spot on the roster. We've gone over it a million times. Right. There's a lot of guys at wide receiver, and like 2 or 3 potentially rosterable worthy players aren't going to make it.
And I guess to go back to your lack of gleaning stars and whatnot, you basically don't have a run game in padless
right
practice.
So it's hard to like
you don't have real line play
Right.
It's and even the front seven play is strange. It's a weird thing to evaluate. So you got to be there, you got to look. But I don't know. I don't know how many other positions other than quarterback and receiver and cornerback you can really hone in on in these sessions.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I would say that like Anthony Jennings, not the biggest star, but like he's another guy who probably has like the arrow pointing down right now, just because he's also been with backups a lot of the time.
Is he too big? Is he just too big?
I think he's just not an attacking player
Yeah.
enough for this defense, the way that maybe Harold Landry can be, Keon White, Caleb Von Chasen. It looks like he's like at least fourth in that pecking order right now,
Okay.
which is tough because he's a decent enough player. But yeah,
Decent enough player is the right way to say it.
right, yeah. Um, Safety. I think overall the safeties kind of had a strong spring, but once again, it's not like there's only like I say that, oh, not the sexiest guys. There's like four big names on this entire roster. So once you get beyond those four big names, you're kind of like, I don't know.
Hmm.
But like, I think Craig Woodson had a decent spring. I think Del Pettis and Jalen Polk had decent springs. Kyle Duggar was limited for most of the time, so not a great sense of where he's at overall. But Jabril Peppers is like right in there in the mix with the first stringers. Seems like it could be a deep group of safeties this year, like it usually is with the Patriots. But they've also got some different coaching in there too. You don't have Brian Belichick coaching up the safeties, so coaches have to play a part as well.
That's true. Yeah, the safeties was always a group you never really had to think about for this team for a long time because they were so veteran-laden and experienced that it is a little bit of a shift there. How about
I would say that like in the mid 2010s, like Steve Belichick had kind of an exceptionally easy job coaching Devin
yeah,
McCourty, Patrick Chung, Deron Harmon. Like
yeah.
a lot of those guys were like the same age as him and just like probably knew more about safety than him.
I think Steve Belichick himself said around the time or shortly thereafter, like,
Yeah.
those guys told me what to do. So
Right.
with Dad as coach and those guys on the field, it was a pretty good welcoming that felt. But what about the rookie center, Jared Wilson, being injured? I feel like when they drafted him, was that something we knew about?
Wasn't something I knew about, but yeah, him and Michael Wenu and Vidarian Lowe were limited for the spring. So it's tough. Like it seems like Garrett Bradbury, just based on Jared Wilson's injury alone, kind of gets the what's the term right there? The head up on the competition or neck up on the competition. What is it?
Leg up. He's got a leg
Leg
up.
up. Sometimes those phrases just are in the back of my mind. So Jared Wilson, I guess you'd have the arrow pointing down a little bit there. And we did have a retirement that we haven't spoken about yet, just because I didn't want to start the podcast with Wes Schweitzer.
Oh,
But Wes Schweitzer retired
I love those. I usually it's
before
July,
the final minicamp practice. And do you know what's kind of interesting?
I don't. Tell me, Doug.
So Wes Schweitzer was not there on Monday during minicamp and then wasn't there again on Tuesday.
Uh-huh.
On Monday, as I was walking to the practice field from the parking lot, I saw Wes Schweitzer coming out of the facility. I was just like, oh, it's kind of weird. Like, practice starts pretty soon. Wonder what he's doing hanging around like the entrance to the facility. Apparently just leaving. I don't know. I mean, because a day later, the Patriots announced he was on the reserve retirement list, and that's one less guy competing for left guard. So, like,
Yeah.
in a vacuum, Wes Schweitzer news isn't that big of a deal. But when you have this open competition at left guard and you take out the most experienced, the most veteran guy, it's kind of a big deal, right?
I mean, it's a pretty important thing. I don't know that Schweitzer was going to win it, but ideally,
He
you'd
might
like,
have, yeah.
yeah, which maybe wouldn't have been good. But I remember when they signed him, you came out with a take on Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter, and you said the Patriots have signed Wes Schweitzer, adding a veteran guard to the mix, and someone was like, "Stop trying to talk this guy up, Doug. Like another piece of garbage that the Patriots signed. Stop trying to make him sound great." So
Yeah.
egg on your face for having
Yeah.
to take that. They signed a veteran guard.
That they signed a veteran guard. Yeah. No, yeah, a guy with some experience at center, too.
I tried
Egg
to
on my
find it,
face,
though.
like you said.
You
What
might
was
have.
it?
I tried to find it in your tweet history real quick, but you might have spelled his name different. Oh no, there we go. There we go. Let's see.
What was the tweet? We need to know.
All right, here it is.
Yeah.
Doug Kyed, 12 p.m. on March 14th. The Patriots are signing veteran center/guard Wes Schweitzer per source. Next line. Follows Todd Downing from the Jets. And then, that one was asking you. Someone said polish this turd for me. So I guess.
In camp easily. Yeah.
Maybe I missed. You said they're signing a professional offensive lineman. It's what the Patriots need. Nothing wrong with it.
Oh.
So I guess I thought the guy was accusing you of polishing the turd. So my apologies to David Q 85024471. I misinterpreted this, but that was my memory of Wes Schweitzer signing.
Well, what are the replies to they're signing professional offensive linemen? That's probably
all right. Oh, we got 15 replies.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're shopping at the bargain bin. He played one snap in 2024. He blows.
Yeah.
Another bottom of the league guy. They should be aiming higher. Much better guys out there to add depth and competition. This team is cheap and out of touch. Ha 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 ha. And nothing wrong with it, but what they need is starting caliber offensive linemen. So the Wes Schweitzer era, we can do a whole nother podcast on that.
You probably could, yeah. That's early July. Yeah.
My favorite memories are you tweeting that he signed and getting a response, I guess.
Yeah, so, but I think that tells you now that Cole Strange, probably the favorite for the job, but just the fact that Wes Schweitzer and Tyrese Robinson and some of these other guys were getting looks at that job means that they aren't locking in Cole Strange to the starting left guard job.
What about City So? Haven't heard much about City So.
He's been playing a little bit of right guard when Michael Wenner's not in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Seems like he could get some work out of the guys that they've drafted within the last few years.
Yeah.
He's made it this far, which is an accomplishment in itself.
Sure.
And he also had some moments during his rookie season.
He was a 4th-round pick. When? 2 years ago? 3 years
2023, I want to say.
Okay. Yeah.
Was he in the DeMario Douglas class? Yes.
2023, yeah. Okay.
Also a 6th-round pick from the CFL.
Good to know. Yeah, no, I mean, he seems like an NFL player at guard.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, that was the funny thing is that he played guard throughout his entire college career. And then Bill Belichick said, let's see what he can do at right tackle. Couldn't do much.
No.
Probably stunted his development a bit.
Likely. But all right. Yeah. Yep. So one man down on a very competitive position.
Yeah, I mean, some other names there, Layden Robinson, as you mentioned, City So, Tyrese Robinson. I think Caden Wallace could potentially be thrown into the mix.
I was going to ask Caden Wallace because obviously he's supposed to be a tackle.
Right.
But what if he can do both? Because I think you need a backup tackle, and he's probably in position to be your both backup tackles. I don't know.
Right, because if it's not him, it's like Vidarian Lowe and Demontre Jacobs.
Right. So he might be the third tackle, but in the meantime, if no one else can play guard and he can, it's interesting.
We've seen Marcus Bryant get a decent amount of run at tackle. Their 7th-round pick. We've seen Demontre Jacobs at tackle a decent amount. Caden Wallace, I think he was playing more guard than tackle. So,
yeah, that's interesting.
But the one thing you really want to do with Caden Wallace is you want to figure it out, like before they really get into the nitty gritty of the summer. So like once pads come on, I want to know if Caden Wallace is playing tackle or guard because as you're mentioning, like he could either be a starting left guard or he could be your third tackle. Maybe he's neither. Maybe they don't like him as much as the previous regime did. But, like, regardless, that's a pretty important role for you.
Right. Yeah.
So I'd like them to figure that one out.
You had a great perspective on Marcus Bryant. Am I wrong in that, like, what's his name? Who was drafted high at right tackle this draft? I already forget 2 months ago.
It's pretty amazing how these things go, like, in one brain and out the other because it was Armand Membu.
Membu. And it was like, oh, he's a right tackle. And you made the point, like, this 7th-round pick the Patriots got played left tackle on that same team. So, like, he might be pretty good.
He had his moments in college. He's definitely very athletic. He's got good size. He's 6'7", 320. Like, he's got the right measurables to be a left tackle in the NFL. But I know that also when they drafted him, I'm simply quoting someone. I'm
Careful.
not. I'm not. I am personally not saying this. I'm literally quoting someone. I believe it was a Missouri fan was in my mentions after I said that they drafted him. And I believe they called him a terrorist because he was so bad at
You
left tackle at
know,
times at Missouri.
people are doing
I
that a lot these days on the internet. Chill out,
I
chill out.
agree with you. I agree with that. I think I like obviously the Patriots like him enough to take him in the 7th round, and he also definitely didn't grade out like poorly on PFF, which when we're evaluating 7th round picks, that's like they watch everyone. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like everyone can have their nitpicks about PFF, but they watch everyone. They give
Well,
everyone the same chances.
I think
He
the
had a
interesting,
75 overall grade last year. It's
yeah,
not terrible.
but the interesting angle is the one you brought up, where it's like
Right.
Membu was a 7th overall pick, and people were talking about him here, and they're talking about him there? Can he play left tackle? And it's like, well, why didn't he do it in college at all?
Right.
So again, it's a 7th round pick, but it's not as if he's just some bum that
And I will
filled the
also say
spot.
this about Marcus Bryant. He transferred from SMU in 2024. So like I feel like Missouri at that point had their chance to be like, okay, do we move Membu to left tackle or do we just slide in this guy who just transferred from SMU?
Mhm.
And they picked the guy who transferred from SMU. And I don't know. I think that even if you're not making the case that like Bryant is good because of this,
Uh-huh.
I think it also does speak to the Patriots saying like, hey, let's actually take the left tackle, not the right tackle, and move him to left tackle, because
Right.
Missouri even thought that Marcus Bryant was a better fit at left tackle
Right.
than Armand Membu was.
Here's
And now the Patriots do too.
a little factoid quiz for you, because you're the guy. You got your roster sheet, you got your binoculars, no sunscreen. Marcus Bryant is the 2nd biggest player currently on the Patriots roster.
Yeah.
Who is the biggest?
As in like height?
Both.
Well, Michael Wenu's got to be the heaviest.
I'm going full package, but let's see. Mike Onwenu is indeed the heaviest, but not nearly the tallest.
The tallest
Total
is
package.
not
Marcus Bryant is tied with someone who's also heavier than him.
I'm literally looking at the roster, so I'm cheating. Is it DeMontre Jacobs?
No, he's an inch shorter and 5 pounds lighter than Marcus Bryant.
Is it Will Campbell?
It's not Will Campbell. He's an inch shorter and 1 pound lighter than
Who
Marcus
is it?
Bryant. It's Jack Conley from Boston College.
No friggin' way.
6'7", 333.
Wow.
Big dog.
He was getting some run. He was getting some run at guard.
Yeah, there you go. 6'7", 333. So Bryant is 6'7", 320. Pretty large. Bigger than Morgan Moses. Bigger than DeMontre Jacobs. Bigger than Will Campbell. Bigger than Caden Wallace. Bigger than Vidarian Lowe. So I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna take up the Marcus Bryant train this summer. That's what I'm gonna be like. That's gonna be my. When you're on the radio, and the host will ask you something like, "So who's a under the radar player who might end up making this team?" I'm telling you, I'm staking my flag, Marcus Bryant. Never seen him play.
I mean, he's getting involved. He's been receiving second team work, which is always pretty notable. Jack Conley played a lot of tackle in college, transferred to guard as a senior. Still didn't play that well, but a lot of people like him. So Jack Conley, also a guy to watch, is like an undrafted free agent. Efton Chisum, I finally talked to him on Tuesday after the second minicamp practice. And I don't mean to be like I don't know if I'm like a soothsayer. I don't know if I'm like, I feel like a lot of the time, and I'm sure I've had some misses, if I talk to a rookie wide receiver who's having to learn a complex Josh McDaniels offense, I believe I have a pretty good sense of who is taking the right approach and who is not. And I know that this is me just saying this in retrospect, but I remember talking to Jacoby Myers when he was a rookie and thinking, this guy's taking the right approach. This guy has got the right mentality for this. I think he's got this. I remember thinking the same thing about Malcolm Mitchell back in 2016, saying, I don't know, it seems like he gets it. Like he just gets it. He gets the work that needs to be put in. He gets what has to be done. And I felt the same way about Efton Chisum. He's doing a lot of work on flashcards. He realizes the importance this offseason of staying up on the playbook, that the most important thing he can do is learn the playbook. I haven't talked that deeply with Kyle Williams yet, so I don't know what my opinion on there is. But like, let's say like N'Keal Harry, I didn't necessarily have the same sense. Aaron Dobson, I didn't necessarily have the same sense. So I'm currently putting Efton Chisum in the same category as a Jacoby Myers or a Malcolm Mitchell as someone who appears to be taking the right approach to learning a complex NFL offense. Does that mean he's going to make the roster? I have no idea. But he's a guy who came in as an undrafted free agent, should have been absolutely lowest on the totem pole, and worked his way up seemingly pretty quickly.
I marked tape, Doug. I marked tape. Soothsayer Doug has him in the Mitchell, and I already forget. It's been 1 whole minute since
Mitchell and Jacoby Myers.
Mitchell and Myers camp, not in the Dobson and Harry camp. This is it's a good
important
observation.
Information. Okay,
It's a good observation. I mean it's a cerebral offense. It's a guy that isn't great elsewhere can thrive in it for understanding the route options and being in the right place and working with the quarterback. So noted. It's circled. If you want to maybe put that out in take form, we got it.
Perfect. I'm glad that that's been written down. It's in print.
I wrote it on the instruction manual for the desk that I built a couple weeks ago. So that's pretty much in ink.
Yes. Oh, that's very true. Yeah, beyond that, I'm working on like other. It's so tough because like, yes, some pass rushers looked good, but it's like, come on, guys. Like, there's literally no pads. Guys can't touch each other. There were a couple moments this spring where a defensive back hit a wide receiver a little bit too hard, and then got like immediately chewed out by Mike Vrabel.
Okay.
Like Vrabel was taking the right approach when he saw too much contact, just being like, I'm not quoting him because I literally could not hear what he was saying.
Yeah.
But the vibe of it was like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like
hands off the merchandise.
Hands off. Like, we can't be doing this. They're not doing it to you. Why are you doing it to them? So there's like a couple wide receivers who didn't get like laid out, but just got like knocked on the ground. And then he was just kind of like, come on, like, what are we doing out here? You know?
It's dangerous. It's dangerous. We saw an injury on like the first day of camp 2 years ago. A receiver over the middle tweaked a knee, and it affected him for a while. He got like slightly knocked off his course. So these things happen.
Yeah.
But it's also inevitable in some like when you're running
right. Like it's hard to pull yourself back in those situations.
Right.
Especially like one of the guys was Josh Minkins, who's an undrafted free agent. It's like you're looking to make your mark. You don't want to let the other guy catch the ball. Then you come in a little too hot, and then all of a sudden you got your head coach being like, "What are we doing out here?" You know.
I have a question. We can't talk too much about it because it was probably a week ago now. But the Diggs media session I thought was pretty like the most veteran way that's ever been handled. Just like
I know.
To look at you and be like, you can ask it many different ways, and I won't answer it. And
he did it with a smile on his face. I don't think he was like getting annoyed. I do think it was about as professionally as he could have handled it.
Right. The less you say, the better.
Obviously, you would have liked him to say like, "This is what was in the bag." Like, this is what Mike Vrabel said. All those things would have been more interesting. But like, it's not what he wanted to do. It's not what the team wanted him to do. So he handled it about as well as he could.
Yeah, I thought so too. But it was also like, it wasn't one of those tense ones, you know?
No.
When someone gets in trouble in some way and it's like a really awkward, uncomfortable thing. So you were there, I assume. So I imagine the air was somewhat normal despite the awkward line of questioning.
Yeah, I would say so. And I'm also like, people asked the right questions. Like it would have been, I know, like it wouldn't have felt like we were doing our jobs if we had just been, oh, okay, you don't want to talk about it. Cool. Okay, good. Let's talk about something else.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's, I don't know. I mean, there was a lot to ask him. The questions were asked. He wasn't going to answer any of them. So then we moved on. And all in all, it was like, I think like 11 minutes or something of him talking. So like, he definitely like stood there and took all the questions, which you have to give him credit for.
And what did he say about his knee and his status and his health? Because I was traveling that day and all I got was the drug stuff.
Not a whole lot. He wouldn't even really guarantee they would be out there for week 1. But like the interesting thing that's tied to this is that someone asked him if he had gotten his physical yet. And he was like, I actually don't know. I don't think so. Maybe I have and I didn't even know about it. And then the question was like, okay, but you have money tied into the physical. He's like, oh, you're asking if I've gotten paid yet. He's like, I'll check my bank account or something like that. So that is an interesting element of this that I was on the Joe Murray show. And obviously, like, if you're a radio host, you like everything, you want to make everything as interesting as possible. And we should probably be doing this as a podcast as well. But he was like, is
Mark
there
tape.
like,
Mark tape.
Is there anything like to make of this? Could this be a future issue? And it's like, ideally, no. But like, it is in the team's hands of, okay, we have to give this guy a physical and pass him. And then once he passes, he gets all this guaranteed money. So if something else like this pink bag of whatever happens, yeah, this could potentially become an issue, but it certainly doesn't look like it will at this point. And like, say what you will about stuff on Diggs. I even said this, I think, on the radio, but it's like, this is a guy who has this like air about him, but this is probably the most trouble he's ever gotten into, and he didn't even get in trouble about. Like, this isn't a guy with like a history of arrests or suspensions or anything. Like, has he been a model citizen? I have no idea. I haven't really followed the Vikings and Bills well enough.
Right. We've seen him blow up on quarterbacks and have emotional sideline outbursts, but that's
Right.
in the
but
in
it's
the
nothing
game.
off the field.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
He's not Antonio Brown, who also
No. Right. So all in all, like, since nothing really has ever happened off the field before, I can't, like, it seems like it probably won't happen this offseason and things will probably be fine. And like, he's been another arrow up, I would say, this spring, just based on the way he's moving with that knee.
Yeah. And it wasn't violent crime. It wasn't,
No.
I mean, not to belittle if it was party drugs, but they're called party drugs, you know?
Right. We don't know what was in them, but it seemed like whatever was in that bag, everyone on that boat was a willing participant. So
correct. They seem to be begging him for it. So
right.
what's our stance as a podcast on party drugs?
I don't know. I mean,
I did label us the cocaine boys a few weeks ago.
Pink cocaine boys.
It hasn't stuck. It has not stuck. So we can still get out of it, but
it's very true. All right. So yeah, I mean, any other questions that you have about this offseason workout program? I'm putting you on the spot. We'll do a 53-man roster projection next week. I think that's gonna be a good way to fill a podcast.
Sure.
I think that'll be a good exercise for figuring out where this Patriots roster is. But
Marcus Bryant will be on there on mine.
Yeah,
I guess. Are you
like Andy Borregales has had a good spring, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. How's the long snapper look? Ashby. Is he snapping? Good.
You know what? I don't know if I specifically looked at the snaps.
Get the speedometer out there. You know, I need you clocking them.
The real test, how many, like, maybe Barth could do this. Maybe Alex Barth could see like how many rotations the ball spins on each snap. Does that tell you anything?
Yeah, probably. They know what they're doing back there. It's crazy. It's science.
You probably don't want a knuckleball coming at you, right?
No. I'm trying to think. Was it wasn't Jake Bailey. Who did Barth and I just marvel at a couple of years ago? The punter.
Was it Behringer? Was it Bryce Behringer?
Was it? Like, it doesn't seem like it, but someone was just majestic in camp. It must have been
Behringer. Yeah. And Bailey definitely had some very strong years.
Yeah, but I think he was, on the downturn. I'm going to search my tweet history because
I think it was probably Behringer, because even my daughter Olivia was like by them.
Okay, I had a tweet. I called it Bryce Behringer's punts are all caps breathtaking. Barth had tweeted, Michael Hurley's life is forever changed after witnessing what Bryce Behringer just did. So that was a fun summer. That team was no good, but punter was. So the question is, Doug, it's June 16th. They get back the 23rd. You said you've got a month and a week. Do you expect a notable there will be minor roster moves between now and then? Do you expect any, based on what you observed, any notable changes to the roster between now and when they take the field again?
I would say no, but Mike Vrabel was asked about that on Tuesday, because there are some guys out there right now who have contract situations. Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt, Terry McLaurin.
Mm-hmm.
I think McLaurin's will get resolved. I feel like TJ Watts will get resolved.
Kind of. I don't feel the same about Hendrickson.
I do not feel the same way about Hendrickson, and I also do not feel the same way about Jalen Ramsey with the Dolphins.
Okay.
Jonnu Smith, can't really imagine him coming back. I don't think they need a third tight end.
Yeah.
But like, I think Ramsey would be somewhat interesting in the fact that the Patriots like lack outside depth at cornerback, and he's also a guy who has played inside. And if you line up against the Patriots, you've got Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis on the outside and Jalen Ramsey on the inside. You're probably thinking, crap, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're a quarterback.
Yeah. I'm thinking worse than that, Doug.
Are you thinking, shit?
I'm going HE double hockey sticks at minimum.
So,
at minimum.
I mean, do I think something's going to get done there? Probably not, because like the chances of no trade are always better than a trade. But like if I'm the Patriots, I'm always interested in being like, how would he fit in the slot? Do we like him more than Marcus Jones? Do we prefer Marcus Jones as being like a safety cornerback hybrid who's great on punt returns? And do we want to plug Jalen Ramsey in here at slot cornerback? Yeah. I personally would be interested in that. We'll see what the Patriots think. And the same thing goes for Trey Hendrickson, where it's like, okay, if you get Trey Hendrickson on the edge, who does that severely impact? It maybe impacts Harold Landry a little bit. Like maybe he plays a little bit less. Keon White probably plays less. Yeah. Caleb Von Chasen probably plays less. But like, we all have these high hopes for Keon White that haven't really come to fruition yet. And if you can plug Trey Hendrickson in as one of your pass rushers, once again, if you're facing a defense that suddenly has Trey Hendrickson and Milton Williams and Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, you're at least saying, oh crap, more than you are without Trey Hendrickson in there.
Yeah.
And the Patriots have a crap ton of cap space right now. So once again, I don't know if this is going to happen. Chances are it's probably not. But when you're where the Patriots are with a ton of cap space and improvements to make along your roster, I think you have to consider anything that's out there.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking more like, is there a guy that we assume is on the team that might, like I've seen people throw out Mac Hollins not making the team, which to me, I never really considered, because why would you sign a guy day one of free agency if you're just not going to put him on your football team? That makes no sense. I don't know if you had anyone in that sort of, it's kind of dumb to name it, because that's the whole point of a surprise cup. But I'll just transition it then, because
because like, I think safety is interesting because like, does this defense, does Mike Vrabel and Terrell Williams believe that Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar are ideal to coexist at safety on a defense?
In the sense that they're both
both like 220-pound safeties.
They're hammers, not center fielders.
Right. Whereas like if they love Craig Woodson, maybe they view Craig Woodson as being a better center fielder. And then it's like, all right, do we want to pay this much for two strong safeties? Mm-hmm. It's not the worst idea just because you lack depth on this roster overall, but like that would be a position that I would have questions about, is that like, are both of those guys necessarily guaranteed to be starters in this defense?
Roger that. Got it.
Yeah.
I have a transition. We have an award for the quote of spring camp. We totally missed it. And it came from Keon White when you just mentioned him. Unreal quote. I assume this was in a scrum. I wasn't there. You tell me. Quote, now I feel like I have a coach. I like Mike. He leads with work. I can respect that. It's similar to Bill, just with a younger face. I think we all know how I feel about that. I liked him. So it's comforting to know that you have a hard ass at the helm who will not be afraid to fist fight with you in a back alley. Subtext, Gerard Mayo was a shitty coach. That is the message from Keon White.
Subtext, I tried to fist fight Gerard Mayo in an alleyway in Foxborough, and he wouldn't take me up on the offer.
Yeah, but I mean it's honest, and it's something that we all kind of knew, but to put it out there like that, now I feel like I have a coach again. It does, like you said, he didn't take the second year leap we expected. It does. I really believe that, and I've been saying that since last year. It's like no one's on him. Even Keon White, as a rookie, had a great play in the preseason. I couldn't tell you what it was. And he gets to the sideline, and Belichick's in his ass about something. And Keon White wasn't this shocked rookie or whatever. He was just like, yes, coach.
Yeah, he's got a very unique personality that I think will do better with a Vrabel than he did with the Gerard Mayo.
Yeah, so that is the quote of the whole May-June program. Right.
I like it. I don't know if I have one off the top of the.
That's the winner. It doesn't matter. There's no other one. I also
I'm glad.
Anecdotally, just for the record, have a lot of tweets about Bryce Behringer.
Wow.
Like pages. I have a tweet from where'd it go?
You're a Bryce Behringer super fan.
August 10th, 2023. This was a preseason game. Patriots I'm excited to see in game action tonight. 1, Bryce Behringer. 2, B. Behringer. 3, Behringer, parentheses P. 4, Demario Douglas. 5, rookie punter Bryce Behringer.
Wow.
I was really into it. He's been all right.
Yeah.
He had a 75-yard punt at one point, right?
He's been solid. Yeah. Maybe not like the best punter in the league like Jake Bailey was one year, but he's definitely been solid and seems like a good, solid guy too. Yeah. So he's now the veteran in that room.
I should probably delete some of these.
No.
Just in case like he disappears one day, I will be the prime suspect. in one, so it was a Patriots post-game note said Bryce Behringer's 79-yard punt was the 5th longest in Patriots history, with Sean McCarthy's 93-yard punt ranking first. Wow. And I found that video. It bounced on
Sean McCarthy?
Yeah, it bounced on the 34 in Buffalo on like a windy day and just rolled all the way to the 1 foot line.
Wow.
That's unbelievable. Wild. Patriots history right there. That was before my time.
All right, we're at the 41-minute mark. I think that it's time to turn our attention to other subjects. We'll start off in the Red Sox to keep it sports.
Yeah, look at his hair.
The Rafael Devers trade.
Insane. So bad.
As many people know, I decided to start following baseball again this year. I had a long break. What a hell of a year to start following baseball again, especially in Boston.
It's like the famous line, just when I think they're out, they pull me back in. You got to be like, just when I thought I was back in, they kicked me right out.
Right back. Yeah. My brother-in-law is a Giants fan. He lives in San Francisco with my sister. And we were texting a little bit about the trade. And it's like, if you're a Giants fan, you're just like, how did we fall into this? Like, what the hell? Like, we just got a superstar baseball player and had to give up basically nothing.
A bad pitcher, a minor league pitcher, a young outfielder, and a rookie pitcher.
It's not as if the contract was like a complete albatross either. He's currently playing up to the contract.
Jeff Passan had tweeted that they're underwater on it. It's like they're not, because his defense, you are more valuable when you play the field. Than you are as a DH. But when you DH at that level, it really counterbalances whatever you might be missing by playing substandard defense, And you look at the contract Vlad Guerrero Jr. just got. Like, these are going to be your deals. Yeah. And this guy's still young. And I have been firm on it too. What he has been doing this year has been horrifically selfish. Like, he has been a selfish a-hole. But if you are going to trade every selfish a-hole in baseball, you will not have any baseball players left on your team.
Right.
That's just the reality of this, the way the sport works. It's 26 individuals doing their own thing. Like, I was even watching the Clubhouse, the Netflix show, and Jaron Duran's trying to, like, he's in the dugout in September. They're trying to make a playoff push. He's like, where is everybody? And he's mic'd up. So he goes in the clubhouse. He's like, guys, can you come in the dugout while we try to win the game? And he's like, no offense, nothing against you, Poppy, but we need the guys out there. And he comes out. He's like, Kenley Jansen's just sitting in his underwear, like, doing nothing for anyone. So, like, that is baseball. So you can't just be like, oh, you had to get rid of him. It's insane. And the worst part is, let's say you land on that. You're the Red Sox. You got to trade Kenley. You got to trade Rafael Devers. You have to do better than this. Like, you can't do this. This is atrocious.
Yeah, because when Robert Murray first tweeted out, and I wasn't gonna like tweet about this, but just because like I don't know enough about baseball. I know enough to talk on a podcast about it apparently, but I wasn't about to tweet about this. But like the initial tweet was, San Francisco Giants are acquiring Rafael Devers from the Boston Red Sox for Jordan Hicks, Kyle Harrison, and more, according to sources familiar with the deal. Had I tweeted, I would have said that more better be a hell of a lot more.
I said
it wasn't.
I said it better be prime Barry Bonds would have been appropriate.
I would take prime Matt Williams. I would take prime John Burkett, maybe even. Yeah. But good Lord. I mean,
it's just
because like the Hicks and Harrison have also been like mediocre so far. One of them, it was Harrison that got sent down to AAA, right? He got optioned in AAA.
He's currently in AAA, and Hicks has been bad for 2 years. Like, he's just not the guy. Devers ranks 12th in major leagues in OPS, and that's despite starting the year 0 for 15.
Yes.
Like, he got a week. He gave everyone a week head start.
Yeah,
he's tied for 8th in doubles. He's tied for 15th. He's 15th in home runs. Like he is RBIs. He's third in Major League Baseball. Like he is just absolutely raked. And again, if you settle on trading him, you can't just take a dog crap offer and sell it. So, and we'll find out at 8 p.m. tonight what kind of garbage spin these guys put on it. But it's going to be it's going to make a lot of people's skin crawl to hear Sam Kennedy and Craig Breslow, both of whom are not believable public speakers.
Right.
It's going to make people sick to their stomachs to hear them explain this.
I would also say, and not to go too deep into this once again, we've already gone pretty deep, but like the right thing for the Red Sox to do is to keep Roman Anthony and Marcel Meyer up right now. But like, wouldn't you also feel a little bit better about this trade if Roman Anthony had more than one professional baseball hit currently?
Yeah, he's working on it. Yeah, no, it's like, insane for right now.
I'm not saying they called him up too early. I think they called him up like
that's
probably maybe even too late. But
that's
like
part of it.
But what if he continues to have one hit, and then like you have to send him back down because like right now, the spin obviously is that there's a log jam in the outfield.
Yeah,
and there's a log jam in even certain there's a log jam overall.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what if there's not at some point? What if that log jam turns into like you've already got Bregman down? If Roman Anthony like continues to struggle,
Christian Campbell might be going down too.
Like, Christian Campbell isn't doing too hot. Like guys are injured. What happens if like all these guys don't perform up to expectation? Because then you're scrambling for outfielders or DHs or whatever it is. I don't know.
I mean, I put a ton of it on Devers for being a huge baby about it, especially because on that Netflix show last year, 2024, he showed up to spring training, was like, the front office has to do more. They need to get more guys. They need to do more. And then the Netflix show showed he had a meeting with Breslow, with Cora, and he was in there and he was literally like, no, you guys are doing great. No, I didn't mean anything by it. And it was just like, that's your opportunity to actually stand behind what you're saying. So to me, I lost a lot of respect for him there. But Alex Cora is to blame. Like, talk about a failure to communicate. Like, you have to go like they said, the report said Breslow approached Devers about playing the field again so that Cora didn't damage his great relationship with Devers. And it's like, why do you have a manager with a great relationship with your star if you don't use it?
Right.
Like,
yeah. Now is the opportunity. Now let's cash that in. Yeah.
And you're like, ref, we screwed up, but we got a Gold Glove third baseman.
Right. You're
fine at third base. You're not a Gold Glover. Like, have you ever been nominated for a Gold Glove? Have you ever been a finalist for a Gold Glove? Right. Didn't think so.
Yeah.
We need you now. Like, get your glove back. And they never did that. And it was like this. It was like a middle school dance. The way that they treated him. So I don't let the Red Sox off the hook for that part. Like, it's not all on Devers, but I can't think. This is Pat's chat. I can't think of any trade in any sport that is, I guess, Randy Moss, but we know how bad that had deteriorated to that point. But to the point where it's like not the trade deadline, it's a star player, and it's kind of came out of nowhere.
Right.
I guess that's a comparable that just kind of came to mind. But there's really nothing like this where it's like, why did you do this right now? They had to get him off the plane and send him on an Uber back to the stadium.
It's really wild. And overall, like, it just feels like the Red Sox don't want fans. They don't want people coming to their games.
Yeah.
They don't want people to support them.
What percentage of jerseys sold were Devers? Because he's locked in for 10 years. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like a few years ago, I was buying my nephew a jersey, and I had to decide Bogarts or Devers. And I picked Devers, and I was like, wow, I got that right. No, I didn't.
Well, you did still get it right, but not
briefly, yeah. But it's what's the jersey that is probably 75% of what the jersey sales are, right? Like Duran, probably a lot of kids like Duran.
Yeah.
They might like these kids coming up eventually, but
I think like Anthony will be obviously a popular one. I think Meyer will be a popular one.
Yeah,
I think Campbell's already being sold, but like
I don't know, like the popularity of it, like it's not, and that's kind of a big thing if you're the Boston Red Sox,
Right. Like, and like Bregman's got an out after this year, so you can't really be like buying a ton of Bregman jerseys.
I just went to Minnesota and Wrigley, and Minnesota especially, like the marketing of players is like A, B, and C of their initiatives. There's big pillars of these players that if you're not from there, you never think about, but they're turning into their guys. And it's like, I don't know who you do that for this year, and then you just got to hope some of those guys
You
turn
got to
into
hope that
that.
all
But
three of those guys
it's
turn out.
crazy. It's a clown show. I think the issue is,
Yeah.
it's probably starts from ownership on down.
I got
Randy
an
Moss, by the way.
email.
Well, Randy Moss
Yeah,
traded after week 4 in 2010. Remember that?
I do remember that. That was
Shouting
definitely
match with
shocking.
McDaniels on the way to halftime in Miami. They won 41-14, and he's fighting with McDaniels.
Yeah.
He gone
And he went back to Minnesota at that point.
for 4 weeks and then complained about the barbecue, as we know, and got shipped to Tennessee, where he
Tennessee.
was not very good.
Then
He
he
caught,
finished his career with the 49ers, I believe.
which was super disappointing because he was in the Super
He
Bowl
was.
against the Ravens.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember who it was. It was Crabtree, I want to say.
Mm.
Like, they were doing poorly, obviously. They were losing.
Yeah.
And Moss was just sulking on the bench. And Crabtree, who was like a rookie or a second-year player, had to be like, hey, man, come on. We got to get into it. And it's like, don't even bother, Like,
Yeah.
this man is different.
So I got an email from Michael Oswalt. Brian Wilson died last week. The Beach Boys are my favorite band of all time. Sitting behind me are I have all of their records on LP. Like I have a complete collection, which I think tells you
Another
a
Hardo Doug
lot.
moment, an unknown band that none of us have ever heard of.
It's very true. But he said, really enjoyed your personal reflections on the Beach Boys and the playlist. I'd love to hear more thoughts as a final Pats chat segment. Was Carl their strongest vocalist? Yes, I do believe that Carl Wilson was the Beach Boys' strongest vocalist. You plebes who are not Beach Boys super aficionados would best know Carl Wilson as the guy who sang God Only Knows. He was a lead vocalist on Good Vibrations.
Those are some hits.
Those are some hits. Strong vocalist. Brian was a very strong vocalist up until late 60s. And then in the 70s, he purposefully tried to destroy his voice by screaming into a pillow. And it worked. If you ever want to destroy your voice, follow the Brian Wilson method of doing a lot of cocaine and screaming into a pillow, because then he could no longer hit his falsetto vocals.
The Cocaine Boys have popped back in. Let me just ask you, I know nothing about the Beach Boys other than like Aruba, Jamaica. Come on, I want to take you. I Googled Beach Boys vocalist and 8 people came up as the lead vocalist.
So originally, Mike Love is the guy who does like the nasally lead vocals on like Surfing USA, California Girls. And Brian Wilson was the guy who did the falsetto vocals on like Fun, 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 Don't Worry Baby. Then like basically everyone in the band could sing. Dennis Wilson was their drummer. He sang Forever, which John Stamos later covered on Full House.
Of course.
Bruce Johnston even had some lead vocals. Al Jardine was lead vocalist on Help Me Rhonda and some other songs. Carl Wilson, as I already mentioned. Ceylon Sailor, that was a song in The Departed. A guy named Blondie Chaplin was the lead vocalist on that one. He was from South Africa. There was a period of time for 2 or 3 years where the Beach Boys had 2 members from South Africa. So there's a lot of vocalists on the Beach Boys. They could all sing.
I never really thought twice about it. I just know the Beach Boys generally, how they sound, and never was picking that apart.
Yeah, there's a lot to pick apart. And there's even like, until let's say the last like 15 years, there was even debates over like who sang which parts because some of them sound so similar. Like they all have that Hawthorne, California accent. So like guys could imitate each other pretty well. 3 of them were brothers. Brothers typically sound pretty similar. What do people seem to have against Mike Love? Mike Love, as I mentioned before, was the lead vocalist and frontman. He didn't play an instrument, and he didn't necessarily want the Beach Boys to go off in different directions. He wanted to stay with like the meat and potatoes, surfing, cars, girl songs. That's how people know him. He's also done some things politically, let's say in the last like 8 to 10 years, that have some people who don't like Mike Love very much. He has a lot of bravado. He's probably a pretty egotistical guy. Overall, people don't like Mike Love. Overall, Mike Love would probably be my least favorite member of the Beach Boys. But I also consider myself to be such a Beach Boys fan that I can't like fully hate Mike Love. because he sang a lot of very good Beach Boys songs and even co-wrote a lot of great Beach Boys songs with Brian Wilson. So that's why people hate Mike Love.
Good to know.
There's one final question. Does Bruce Johnston deserve more credit for filling such enormous shoes when Bryant stopped touring? Yeah. I mean, kind of. It was an interesting band that Brian Wilson was like their songwriter, one of their lead vocalists. And in like 1964, 1965, he was like, I'm not going to tour anymore. So you wouldn't necessarily see that in today's day and age.
No.
But he was staying busy behind the scenes. He had to write songs. He was producing songs. Like the Beach Boys would go on tour and then he'd have like a whole album recorded and be like, hey, just sing on these songs. So I don't know. Interesting band. I was very sad that Brian Wilson passed, but I also kind of knew that it was coming for a while. There have been some recent reports about his health that were not overly positive. So it seemed like it was probably a matter of time before this happened. And it's very sad. But even members of his band were quoted. I think these are accurate quotes being like, am I sad? Yes, of course I'm sad that he's not here on this earth anymore, but he's finally at peace. It's somewhat of a relief. So yeah, sad situation, but I think that if I'm going to be a hardo about anything, like being such a Beach Boys super fan, then like when everyone's tweeting about him, it's like, hey, where have you been for the last 38 years of my life? Loving the Beach Boys, because at times it seems like there aren't a lot of huge Beach Boys fans out there.
Right.
But when Brian Wilson dies, everyone now is saying that the Beach Boys are their favorite band. You know,
people did that for Prince, and it was like, I have never heard any of you comment on Prince as a musician until this day.
I mean, exactly. And I mean, yeah.
Not to say that they didn't have Prince thoughts and feelings, but they certainly were over amplified, and maybe that's just human nature.
And I think overall, it's a positive that more people are appreciating and enjoying the music of, let's call it Prince or Brian Wilson, the Beach Boys or whatever. So overall, it's a positive. But even like this weekend, I was down the Cape and we went to the flea market and I was like, I'm not going to find any Beach Boys records at this flea market because I'm sure that everyone will have already bought them. And as I've already mentioned, I'm pretty much out of Beach Boys records to buy at all. It would be like weird compilations that I'd be buying. But yeah, there was a part of me when everyone was tweeting, and I was like, I'm not sure if you guys have earned these tweets as much as I have, you know?
Well, you know, sometimes you got to share.
No, I agree. And I understand that that's the pretentious and selfish side of me that is coming through in those moments.
One of the funniest band names of all time, just neither here nor there. We are the Beach Boys.
Especially when Mike Love is still out there touring at 83 years old.
The Beach Boy.
With Bruce Johnston, who's 82 years old.
The Beach Boys.
They were originally named the Pendletones, and when they sent their record off to the plant, it came back with the name the Beach Boys, and they were like, oh, I guess we're the Beach Boys now. At one point, Brian Wilson wanted to change their name to simply Beach, and he was talked out of it.
Beach 182 would have been better. I know that the film That Thing You Do was a fictional story, but do you think they were like cheekily somewhat playing off a band like the Beach Boys? I never really knew the real life comparable to that. I know it's a total fiction, but
yeah, I think the real life comparable is probably more like another some more of like a one hit wonder from the 60s. But that's one of my favorite movies of all time. That Thing You Do.
But they were the Wonders with the one, and then they changed to the Wonders with the W.
As in I wonder
what happened to the Oneaters.
Yeah. Could be I don't know. I think Tom Hanks is a big mid 60s music fan. He directed that movie. So
good film.
It is. Steve Zahn puts on like a comedic masterful performance in that movie. Everything that he says in that movie makes me laugh. He's great. He's just on one.
Did you watch him on The White Lotus when he was on? I think that was season 1.
No, I have not watched The White Lotus.
That's just Steve Zahn being Steve Zahn. But yeah, that song played at my wedding and it was a hit. Everyone was shaking their hips on the dance floor. It's
a great song. I mean, I had that cassette single when that came out in 95 or 96. So I was like 9, let's call it. When I had a single of That Thing You Do.
It was a good one.
It's a great tune. Did you have a band or a DJ?
DJ. Bands are a risk.
Bands can be a bit of a risk, yeah.
If you have a great one, you have a great wedding. If you have a mediocre one, and if you have a bad one, forget it. It can be tough. And plus, it's like sometimes you want to hear the song that you know and like, and not Brendan from down the street singing it, you know?
Zach Cox had a band at his wedding. couple weekends ago, and it was great. Band was
Yeah.
great.
I've been at weddings with some great bands, so
Yeah.
I'm not besmirching it, but it's a risk. That's all. Like you don't know until unless you're at a wedding and you see the band and you experience it, then you're like, I want that band.
I want that band.
That's not a
Exactly.
risk. But yeah.
We just had like a playlist at our wedding. We just
Oh,
went.
really?
We
I
went
thought
strict
about that,
playlist. Yeah.
but I was like, what if this is a catastrophe and like my iPod Touch craps out,
Right.
and whatever the cost was worth it because you have an
Oh, for sure.
MC
Yeah.
and it worked out. So
Yeah.
it was, it was a consideration because we had literally like cocktail hour playlist, we had dinner playlist, we had dancing playlist, but it did help to have the professional there to manage because we might have had too
For sure.
much. It was.
Oh
just,
yeah. Yeah, we really handcrafted it very much. Yeah, straight to cocktail hour, dance floor, all that different stuff. But yeah, it worked out, but it can be a risk, obviously.
I have a last minute past the 45, 55-minute topic for you because I had an insane experience this week traveling.
Yes.
I took an Uber from Boston, Massachusetts to the middle of Cape Cod.
Wow.
Did you know you could do that?
Can I guess how much that cost?
Yeah.
Was that
North Station to Yarmouth.
wow, Yarmouth?
Yeah, not even like just over the bridge.
What day?
Saturday afternoon.
Was that $250?
So it was only like 130.
Wow.
Maybe I had a coupon. You know when you open the app, they're like throwing stuff at you, like 20% off this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I had a coupon, but it came up and I was like, all right, my train, I was on the Amtrak. I flew home Saturday morning and my daughter had soccer. And so I said to my wife, meet me at the Route 128 station. I'll take the train down there in Westwood and then we'll go to the Cape. She's there. I'm on the train, Amtrak from Back Bay to Route 128. It's one stop. It's 8 minutes.
Yeah.
We made it to Forest Hills and the train shut down. We were stuck there for over an hour.
Oh my God.
Engine broke. So they had to push us or pull us back all the way to South Station. And so my wife with the baby in the car went home. Like you get the baby in the car, you have a finite amount of time you can be in there. It had already been like 2 hours. So that's out. I'm in Boston. It was my father's surprise 70th birthday party.
You almost ruined on last week's podcast.
I know. But so I got to be there, like you can't call and be like, sorry.
It's not get turned 70 again.
It was a big party. It had invitations. There were people from my younger brother from Colorado was there. So it's like, got to be there. Everyone had already left. No one could pick me up. And so I opened it as like a last resort and I hit the button and I'm like, no one's going to take this ride. Like no one, people pick people up in the station and drive them to like Fenway Park. And it was, when you hit it, it's like, oh, finding you a ride. This should only take a minute. And then it was like, something's weird, but there's plenty of drivers. She'll get one. I'm like, no, I won't. And then it was like, zzz, zzz, Joseph's coming 5 minutes. And I was like, oh my God. So I got in the back seat. I'm like, you sure you're up for a Cape ride? He goes, yeah, I don't mind turning off the brain for a while. I guess you get out of the city. And luckily he was like, do you mind if I take this call? And I was like, sure. And he was on the phone the whole time and had music playing. And so like, we didn't have to interact for the 2 hours I was in the car. Yeah. And 2 hour Uber. Not
straight up 130. Like that's kind of a bargain. I feel like.
Yeah, I tipped him $35 because like he saved the day, and I feel like that's okay. I mean, I've never tipped more than like $5 because my Ubers are usually $8.
Yeah.
So it was. I didn't know. I'm shocked someone clicked.
That's a hot tip for someone who's like coming to Boston, wants to go to the Cape. $130 to get down there if you don't want to rent a car.
Well, not even that, right? If you have like a family of 4. This guy had an Explorer. He would have fit 4 of us. The Cape Flyer train, like that one cost a lot. I think it's like let me see. I don't know how this website works. It's $40 round trip each. So for the same price, basically, of taking a train for a family of 4, you can just get in a car and have someone drive you to your door.
And like you said, like Yarmouth is down there. You're going
past
to
Hyannis.
Sandwich. You're not going to Falmouth.
It's like a good, I think it's a good 20 miles past the bridge.
Yeah. Wow.
It was shocking, but yeah, I didn't know that was possible. Maybe people do that, but I wouldn't say it's like option A, but it's a good emergency plan.
Well, that's interesting. I don't think I had any travel mishaps of the same. I was down the Cape. I was in Truro. That would have been a more expensive Uber ride. I don't know if anyone takes that one all
You
the
would
way
have
to
had to
Truro.
take a second one. You had to get to Hyannis and then get another Uber.
And get another Uber. Then
That's
just
a hike.
start walking. I always see someone in that like Wellfleet area. It's the same guy hitchhiking, and I'm like, has anyone picked this guy up in the last 30 years? I'm gonna
Probably.
guess
I bet
maybe.
there's probably some free spirits that are going to P-Town that,
I guess
you
that
know,
might be true. Yeah.
that's a good place to do it, I guess. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah,
Get far down there enough.
I should, before we go, also say I did the baseball tour, the Midwest
Oh
baseball tour.
yeah. Yep.
And Milwaukee was cool. We went to a Wednesday 1 p.m. game, showed
Wow.
up at like 11:30, tailgating everywhere. It
Wow.
was like a
Interesting.
Packers game. It was
Wow.
like you couldn't even get through the parking lot without walking rudely through people's tailgates. It was nuts
Jeez. That's
on
wild.
a Wednesday at noon.
Interesting.
Cool stadium. The slide.
Yeah.
Never thought much about the slide. Sounded like
No.
a stupid gimmick. Seeing the slide in person was like, I would not get on that slide if my life depended on it. It's huge.
That's interesting.
It's like a 3-story slide, but
Yeah.
Wrigley was the real attraction.
Yeah. I've never
And
been there.
it was awesome. It was better than I expected. And what was coolest about it, and it's probably because I'm wistful for Fenway being this way, is the main attraction was the baseball game. Like
Mm.
there's bars all over,
Yeah.
people are drinking, having fun. There's like bachelor parties, but there's also like older women yelling at the game, locked into the game. Like everyone is locked in. And then they don't sing Sweet Caroline the Eighth, but if they win, they sing their goofy little Go Cubs Go song.
Oh yeah.
Everyone stays. It's what an old baseball park should be. Not
Yeah.
to crap on Fenway, but
Right.
baseball is 25th on the list of what people are there for. So
That is true. Yeah.
Wrigley was great. And I got my umbrella hat. So
There you go. I did not know. So I always knew that Sweet Caroline was only originally played when they were winning in the middle of the eighth.
I didn't know that.
Really? It was so
It's not an origin I really remember. It's just
it
sort
only
of
began in 1997, and
Yeah.
then from there, it was only when they were winning in the middle of the eighth, and then they like it was so popular that they started doing it all the time. I mean, I don't think there's no putting toothpaste back in the tube at this point, but I would prefer if it was still only when they're
something
winning
like
in the
that.
middle
Like
of the
I've been
eighth.
at games.
Like for them to be down like 15 runs and to be like bump bump bump, it's a little ridiculous.
I was at a game. They were up like 4-3 going to the top of the eighth. Coming out of the top of the eighth, they were down like 8-4. They had completely crapped the bed.
Yeah.
It was an hour-long inning, and then it's just like, bump,
Da, da,
bump,
da.
where it begins, and it's like everyone's like, woohoo! And it's like I'm not against people having fun.
I know there's 162 games, but still, yeah.
I liked the Cubs song is so corny,
Right.
but it's catchy and people love singing it. And they
Yeah.
waited till after the game was won, and like the players are gone and the song's still going on and everyone's still going crazy.
Yeah.
Like I liked it. It was, I don't know what my expectations were, but it exceeded them.
Why do you think there was a baseball movie boom in the mid 90s?
Oh, fair question.
Major
You had
League,
Major League, Rookie of the
Rookie of the
Year,
Year,
A
Little
League of Their
Big
Own,
League,
The Sandlot.
League of Their Own, The Sandlot, even Bull Durham,
Yeah.
The Natural.
Yeah, not just kids ones.
No. And then like there hasn't been a baseball movie for like 20 years.
Yeah, I think they made a Sandlot sequel once. I've never seen that one.
Right. No one's ever seen those.
Well, Kevin Costner kept doing them through the
For the
2000s.
Love of the Game was in the 2000s, but no one saw that. Maybe it was just that like at a certain point no one was watching them anymore, so they're like, well, I guess we got to stop doing these.
Don't forget the what's his name? Matt LeBlanc in The Monkey.
Yeah,
Ed, of course. You can't
Yep.
forget that one. That was a classic.
Mr. Baseball.
Actually, I recently read about Ed. I
Yeah.
believe the monkey was a man in a suit, a small person.
Wow.
And they filmed it in like Alabama in the summer.
Oh,
So this person had to put on a monkey suit and play baseball
oh my God.
in like Montgomery, Alabama
Maybe
in
that's
July.
why there's no baseball movies anymore, because that's not allowed.
Yeah. Did
So
we say
leave it
Angels in
alone.
the Outfield? That was
Angels
a
in the
classic.
Outfield, that's another one. Yeah, I mean, like, there's really no sports movies in general anymore. There's no movies outside of Marvel movies,
Yeah.
Pixar movies, and
Tim Robinson
live
movies.
action remakes of movies. But can we get some more baseball movies? I don't know. Baseball movies were great.
Yeah. My kids, I think I probably mentioned, we threw Mighty Ducks on. and
Yeah.
they are now full-fledged obsessed Mighty Ducks. They've watched all 3 of them twice.
Wow.
It's
I
and
haven't been able to hook Olivia on any of the sports movies so far. She was maybe the most into The Big Green, which was the soccer movie.
okay. The Sandlot was a hit except for the part where they try dip and puke.
Oh yeah.
That was not a hit.
Dun, dun, dun,
Kids don't
dun,
like that.
dun, dun, dun.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a good baseball trip. Ate one vegetable in the
What was it?
Midwest.
Was it a
Was
pickle on a hot dog?
I did have pickles. I don't count that. It was asparagus on a steak dinner at a steakhouse. So in part of an 8,000 calorie meal, I had some asparagus. But good place, Chicago, fun city. I did see the Bean though. That is the.
Sorry.
I
Were
wasn't
you
looking for
impressed?
it. No, the Bean is stupid. The Bean is the dumbest thing in the world.
Isn't it in a weird part of the city too?
I
Aren't
mean,
you picturing something more like, I don't know, something
it's in
better?
a park. Well,
Yeah.
there's a cool like outdoor concert venue right there, which seems like it'd be a great place to see like a philharmonic. There was a great like kids playground. There was like 10 playgrounds in the park there. It was a cool spot. It was like their Central Park, I guess.
Maybe it's just because I went there in like December or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be there in December. It was great in June when it was
Yeah.
unseasonably cool. It was like 65 degrees. But the Bean is dumb as hell. The we did the Chicago Institute of Art because we had to balance out the Manland. Pretty impressive collection there. Just if you're ever in town, I would do that over the Bean, but unfortunately, they're right next to each other, so be careful.
You're gonna have to see that Bean on the way. All right. Well, this podcast has probably gone about 40 minutes too long at this point, so we will talk to you guys again next week. I'm going to do a 53-man roster projection before then. We will go over it, go through it, and then we'll probably talk about nonsense for like 30 minutes. So
July,
that's
baby.
the way this goes. All right. We will talk to you guys again soon. Goodbye.